the world of South African reality television, few names shine brighter than Nonku Williams International.
Are you going to ask who I am? I'm Nonku Williams.
Nonku Williams.
I think she's just pretending. Nonku Williams International is about to be launched.
Born Nonkululeko, which means freedom, her story is anything but ordinary. Raised in a loving home in KwaZulu-Natal, Nonku's bold and unfiltered personality stood out from an early age. As a young girl, she was carefree and outspoken, often challenging conventions, a spirit her family affectionately nurtured. But behind her bright smile were early lessons in love and pain. Lessons shaped by witnessing her parents' strained marriage, being torn between her mother's strength and her father's love. The same father who used to abuse her mother in front of her and her sister. Today, Nonku is a force to be reckoned with, a devoted mother of three, a successful entrepreneur, and a reality television sensation. Her groundbreaking construction company, beating the odds in a male-dominant industry, and her venture as CEO and founder of Ashes to Beauty Winery have cemented her as a business mogul. But it was her captivating presence on The Real Housewives of Durban that introduced her to the world, showcasing her unapologetic candor, impeccable style, and larger-than-life personality.
Oh, that's a real Mabusi shirt.
Nonku's life, often an open book for millions to dissect,
That's all right.
Monsieur, I'm here to make peace.
Okay.
is not without its strife.
I was bound by fear. I was so afraid that no man would ever look at me.
A closer look reveals a woman whose search for love would trump everything else, including herself.
I became violent.
This could have ended very badly.
I actually pulled a knife on him.
And when she married who she thought was the one, nothing could have prepared her for the nightmare in store.
He's holding a gun.
In front of your child.
I used to make sure that my kids didn't hear that because it's the most tormenting sound ever.
Despite the odds, she has revealed herself as a woman determined to heal, grow, and thrive. Join me as we uncover how she found light in her darkest moments to be the mother who holds it all together and grace with resilience. Nonku Williams, do you consider yourself the star? Because I want to say the star of Real Housewives of Durban.
Rather say Nonku Williams International.
Oh,
That's my name, darling.
international. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Untied, and welcome to what I think is going to be a very interesting conversation. I feel like people have seen you in a certain way, but there are parts of yourself that maybe are a little bit hidden. Do you think, being on a reality show where it requires big personalities, there are parts of yourself you have to hide?
That's the thing with me. I don't know how to hide anything. I think that is why I fit so well into such reality TV, because I came as myself.
If we look back to the little girl, which was that Nonku?
Carefree, very opinionated. I always have been. I always spoke my mind. I remember I used to fight a lot even with my mother, even at that very young age. But I've always known what I wanted. I've always been carefree, hence my name, Nonkululeko, which means freedom.
Do you feel like your childhood was free? Did you grow up in a home that was free?
I would say, yeah, I was free. I was loved, although they had their, differences and all of that. But I was loved by both my parents.
How did then, witnessing your mother being abused by your father affect you, and what your understanding was of a man and a woman coming together?
Looking in hindsight, I'd say 20 years later, that's why I'm attracted to such men, because I know a marriage to be abusive because of what I witnessed as a child. Seeing my dad beat up my mother, hearing the screams from from my mother's room. We were living in a small house, like a 2-bedroom, like, Malukshini, 4-bedroom. So hearing her screams, and then waking up in the morning, seeing her blue eye and all of that. So it's tricky because I received love from my dad. I received love from my mother. I was never short of that. That makes sense. So I know their love, but to see a couple together being in love, that's another story.
Did you look at what they had coming together and say, I want to get married one day?
I started wanting it so desperately after my very first boyfriend that I had. Because growing up, it's funny because I had my life set out. I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted to get married to the man of my dreams. I wanted to preserve myself in terms of my virginity and, to be with that man that I would eventually marry. And I did that. At 21, my mom did a 21st birthday. She handed me a key. And she did the whole thing. At those days, they used to, my grandmother checked me. She took me to a doctor. So I was really, really proud.
Checked you as in virginity testing?
Yes.
To confirm?
Yeah.
A doctor and your grandmother?
Yeah, and let me tell you, I felt so uncomfortable. I felt so violated,
How do you feel about that custom now? Is it something you would do on your own children?
Oh my gosh, I'm thinking, Notile is 17. I respect her privacy so much. There's no way I could ever do something like that to her.
When now you are going through this, you finally get your key, you get your car. What did that represent to you?
I was very proud of myself. But it was just one of those proudest moments of my life. Greatest achievements.
So then you meet a man. How does that happen?
The very first guy.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually met him before
Yes.
I turned 21. And I told him what my dream was. And, and he was so patient, he was so loving, very supportive. So we clicked from day one. I think that's when everything just spiraled out of control when he dumped me, because he dumped me at the end, after 6 years of dating.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you think went wrong?
Me. I know, I say that, yeah, it was definitely me. I think maybe insecurities. I know I know it was insecurities. I was such an insecure somebody. So, and our first time was so beautiful. There were like roses and all of that.
As in now you waited to be 21.
Yes.
You saved yourself and then...
And then a week later, yeah.
You're like, I'm 21, I got the key.
I got the key, girl.
Yes.
He was in varsity, I was also in varsity.
Yes.
And then we progressed. He got his first job, I got my first job as well. Then we started staying together. He used to work as a rapper.
Yes.
At this, and then his job demanded him to go to clubs in the evenings. And remember, I'm just a girl that doesn't do partying, that do all of those things. And then I obviously was in the clubs. Girls. And he's a handsome somebody. He's like really, really good looking. Now a shift in behavior from him. All of a sudden the phone that used to be like, available, just there. Now his phone is off whenever he's home, and I just didn't know how to deal with it because I became violent. So I remember the first time I was violent, I slapped him. I slapped the guy. I slapped him, and I think he'd sworn to himself because of his background. I think having grown up with just only his mother, but it's something that he swore to himself that he would never hit a woman. So, and then I slapped him. I remember the first encounter, and and we obviously there was a huge fight, and I promised never to do it again. And I think for him, the last straw was when I actually pulled a knife on him.
Where do you think that rage came from?
I don't know. I never really went for counseling, nothing on that.
Were you afraid of what you might be capable of after you took out a knife? Like, was there any part of you that was like, my goodness, this could have ended very badly?
It shocked me every time. I never even told my parents this, funny enough. Yeah, I know that I drove him away.
Did he ever want to press charges against you?
No, he just told me to pack my bags and leave. Yeah.
And how did you handle that?
Not well. I stalked the guy.
You stalked
I
him.
stalked him for days. I stalked him. And I remember before I did that, I pretended, I lied to him, and I said that I was pregnant, which was a total lie. And his response was even more hurtful because he told me to get rid of it. You know, it just showed me how much now this guy didn't really want me.
So what was the thing that made you decide enough now? You know, because you were holding on desperately, you were acting out violently, then you start stalking. What did the baby girl stop?